Hello and welcome back to my channel. For this card, I decided to use a couple of the stamp sets that I got for Christmas, which were actually older lawn fawn stamp sets. To start with, I have cut out a slimline rectangle, and then I have this little square die that I am tracing 3 squares roughly evenly spaced on my panel, and then I have used that as a guide to cut them out. To go with this, I also have a second slimline rectangle, and this is the exact same size as the first one. On this panel, I am going to use this cloud stencil with my Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide, and then the grassy stencil with my Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide, and I'm just going to ink up clouds and grass all along my panel. I do bring in my panel that has a little cutouts in it just to kind of make sure that I'm not putting anything too high or too low. When it is finished, it should be where you can see just a little bit of the grass and some of the clouds. Now when I bring in this panel right here, I don't love how flat everything looks, so I am going to use some of the little hill shapes with the grass, and I'm just going to add that to my panel. This doesn't look that good right now, but I am going to be adding stuff over the top, so I'm not super concerned about how it looks. Alright, for my stamp sets, I have used Critters in the Jungle, Critters on the Savannah. Those two are ones that are older stamp sets, but I just got them recently. And then Toucan Do It. I had actually stamped a bunch more images from all of those stamp sets and cut them out. I really wasn't sure what I was using when I first started this card. It actually took quite a bit of time before I had any idea of how my finished card was going to look. I will say it didn't really help that while I was trying to work on this card, we had more illness go through the house, and I don't even understand. Like, a couple of people in my house ended up with a stomach bug. We are not this sickly, you guys. I do not know what's happening this year. It has been crazy. So anyway, trying to deal with, a crabby toddler who has a stomach issue, and, letting my husband sleep because he wasn't feeling good. This was a little bit of a struggle. Yeah, back to the card, or at least the coloring portion. The elephant, I just kept very simple. I started with the darkest color because I already knew pretty much where I wanted the shadows. I will say the more you color certain images or certain types of images, the better you'll get at determining where you want the shadows. Alright, for my monkey and my lion, I am keeping them both the same colors because they're going to be on opposite ends of the panel, and I didn't want to incorporate too many colors. I wanted it to be, fairly cohesive. On that note, my son, the oldest one that does cards sometimes, he came up to my desk when I was working on it, and since you've seen the thumbnail, you'll know what colors I was using. But he looked at it and he goes, "So, was this the color throwdown challenge?" And I was like, "No, this is not what that's for." And he's like, "Well, why is it just blue, green, and yellow?" I guess he felt like those weren't colors I normally use, or that I normally use more colors. I'm not sure. It was funny. Alright, now I know here you can't really see too well what I'm doing because, you see more of my fingers than anything else. But I am trying to do little flicks of the marker, of the darker marker that I was using for the lion's mane, starting at the very ends and working my way towards the center, and doing the same around the face, working my way towards the center, to kind of leave a lighter highlight in the middle of his mane. This toucan was a little bit of a challenge for me, and the reason for that is because I wasn't trying to make it look like a real toucan. I also wasn't trying to make him look like Toucan Sam. So I wanted him blue because there was going to be, other blue elements on the card. But I also wanted to incorporate yellow because I knew that the bananas were going to be on the opposite side of the card, and then there was the little yellow bird that was also going to be in the middle of the card. So he doesn't exactly look like what a toucan normally looks like. I did feel the need to add a little bit of green in his beak. So you see me do that right here because toucans generally have multiple colors on their beaks. All right, and then for all my greens, I'm using the exact same green colors. Some of them I do skip the G09 and I just use the YGs. For anyone who has Copics, can you tell me why this one marker of mine is so like weirdly patchy, streaky? I don't know. It's not pretty. I would have been more upset about it, but I knew that it wasn't going to be that visible anyway with the design that I was going with. Now I am taking some washi tape and just putting some tape on the back of my cutout panel, and I have my Tropical Leaves background stencils from Fawn. I love these, and I've had them for a while and really haven't used them very much. I am going to ink these up with Mermaid Lagoon, Mowed Lawn, and Squeezed Lemonade Distress Oxides. And for this, I'm not really giving it a whole lot of thought on how I'm inking it up, because none of these colors are going to make mud. So I don't really have to worry about them not looking good when I get done. I think this right here, where I was trying to figure out how to lay the stencil the second time, was probably the most challenging part of this whole thing, just because, this isn't for a slimline and I needed to extend the space that it was covering. For the second stencil in the set, it actually lines up really well with the first one, and it just fills in any of the gaps a little bit better anyway. So here, doing the exact same thing with the exact same colors, nothing special. Now that my inking is done, I'm going to remove the tape from the back. This was only to help hold the stencil there. And now I can start figuring out how I want to lay everything out, and I can start gluing things together. Now for this, I was not sure how I wanted to adhere the stuff. I didn't know if I wanted to adhere it all flat, if I wanted to make it into a shaker card, because, that was an option. At some point I decided that I would just tack everything to the back of my little cutout panel with some liquid glue. So that's what you see me doing here. And I'm just cutting off any of the little extra bits that hang off the edge, like this branch. And it wasn't until I completely finished this that I decided that I was going to pop up all that stuff on foam tape, which this is where foam squares or foam dots would be super great. But I don't have any. Now moving on to my sentiment, I have used my Oliver's stitched ABC dies, and I have pulled out the letters for the word wild. I have cut them out of white cardstock that I am coloring blue for a little drop shadow, and I have also cut them out of like a zebra stripe paper. I'm just layering the zebra striped ones on top of the blue letters to kind of give a little drop shadow. I also have these extra leaves that I colored that I figured will go on either side of the word wild. For the rest of my sentiment, I'm going to heat emboss it on black paper. For the word birthday, I am using the How You Been stamp set, and I am going to stamp it in the Unicorn Hero Arts Pigment Ink. I think I said that wrong. It's Unicorn Pigment Ink from Hero Arts. Yeah, that's what it is. Oh, you guys, I'm tired. Anyway, I have just my Ranger white embossing powder that I put over it, and now I'm heat setting it. And to cut these out, I have my Ariel Sentiment dies, and I'm just gonna adhere those up there with some low-tack tape, run it through my die cut machine, and then I can have those ready for my card. So here they are. I'm just gonna glue those flat down with liquid glue. But before that, here is where I am popping up my whole frame and the little critters on foam tape. This was kind of annoying, but I got it done. And you guys, it was I can't even talk. I'm so excited. It was a success. Yes. I have such a hard time lining things up and getting them looking right, and this actually turned out pretty good, and I was so worried that it wasn't going to, but yay me. Small victories. All right, so here I'm gluing my sentiment down, and for the word wild, because it is like half on the raised up part and half sticking over it, I probably should have used a little bit of foam tape to go along the bottom of the letters, but I didn't, so they're actually just kind of hanging there. This would definitely have to be a hand-delivered card. After adhering my little butterfly down and attaching this to a card base, my card was complete. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll be back with another video soon. Bye!